Okay, part A is f plus g of x. So that just means you're adding the two together. So you have x squared plus 2 plus 2x squared minus 1. So that equals 3x squared, and 2 minus 1 is 1. Part B. We got to do the other parts, I guess. F minus g. So let's take that out. So f minus g is x squared plus 2 minus the 2x squared minus 1. Don't forget, it's minus the whole thing. X squared minus 2x squared would be negative x squared. So you have a 1 minus a 2 is negative 1. And 2 minus a minus 1 is 2 plus 1, or 3. And then we have f times g. So that's f minus g, f times g. We take x squared plus 2 and 2x squared minus 1. And you just distribute everything. So 2x to the fourth minus x squared plus 4x squared minus 2. And then simplify that. 2x to the fourth minus 1x squared plus 4x squared is plus 3x squared minus 2. And the last one, f divided by g. So x squared plus 2 divided by 2x squared minus 1. Okay, so there's nothing to do with this. That's the answer. Nothing to simplify there. So then it says part B, find the domain of the f plus g, the f minus g, and the f times g. So this would be the first three things we did. And part C is find the domain of f divided by g. All right, so basically B and C just says, hey, find the domain of all those things you just did. So in f plus g, the first one, this is all real numbers, or negative infinity to positive infinity. And the second one's the same thing, all real numbers, or negative infinity to positive infinity. And f times g, again, there's nothing under a radical, nothing in the denominator, so again, that's all real numbers again. But when we get to f divided by g, there's no radicals, but you do have 2x squared minus 1 in your denominator. That can't be equal to 0. So this is how you solve for the domain. It's all real numbers except for whatever we find here. So add 1, divide off the 2, and then you take the square root. So x can't be plus or minus. And again, you see you have the square root of 1 over the square root of 2. We have to rationalize the denominator. So you get the square root of 2 over 2. So all real numbers except for that. Okay, number 7. So let's just write this down a little bit better. F plus g. All right, so we take 2x over x minus 4 plus x over x plus 5. Well, you have to multiply by a common factor to get your denominators to be right. So you got to multiply by that. And you're going to get x minus 4 times x plus 5. And at the top you have to distribute the 2x, so 2x squared plus 10x. And then distribute the plus x through, you get x squared minus 4x. Put those together. 2x squared and x squared is 3x squared. 10x minus 4x is 6x. And in the bottom, you just have x minus 4 and x plus 5. So there are no radicals here. So let's just do parts B and C as we do these. Your domain is x can't be 4 or negative 5. You can do all other real numbers, but it can't be 4 or negative 5. Okay, now we do f minus g. So the same thing here. I'm just going to put a minus sign here, and we're going to rewrite this. The denominator is still x minus 4 and x plus 5, because to subtract these two, you still have to do the same thing we did in step 1, except you're going to distribute a negative x through that other part. So on the top, we have 2x squared plus 10x, but then you have a minus x squared, and a plus 4x. So we simplify that. 2x squared minus x squared is x squared, and 10x plus 4x is 14x. And again, that doesn't have any bearing on the domain. It should still be the same because it's what's in your denominator that you're worried about, so x can't be 4 or negative 5. Now, f times g. This is a bit crazy, so now you have to multiply 2x over x minus 4 times x over x plus 5. So the domain is still the same thing. You have to look at the problem at the beginning and at the end. So your domain, for number 7, you still can't have 4 or negative 5. But let's see what happens when you multiply these all together. 2x times x is 2x cubed. I'm sorry, 2x squared. And you have x minus 4 and x plus 5. You don't have to put them together because if you put them together, you're going to have to find the zeros anyway. So again, x can't be 4 or negative 5. All right, and then now we have f divided by g. So you have a fraction divided by another fraction. So you take the top, 2x over x minus 4, times the reciprocal of the bottom, x plus 5 over 2x. Now, again, at the beginning here, you still can't have x being 4 or negative 5. So that's still part of your domain. X can't be 4 or negative 5. And now we're simplifying to see if there's anything else. Distribute, we get 2x squared plus 10x. And on the bottom, we have 2x and x minus 4. Well, if x is 0, the whole denominator goes to 0. So x also can't be 0. And that would be your domain. Okay, so this little O means you're plugging in g of x into f. So let's start with part A here. You're doing f of g of x. That's what that means. So g of x is negative x squared. So we're going to plug it into there. So 2 times negative x squared minus 1, which is just negative 2x squared minus 1. That'd be the final answer. All right, now B is g of f. Now you go the opposite direction. So g of f of x. So g of x is negative x squared, so negative whatever f of x is. It goes into that position, which is 2x minus 1. All right, so then we distribute. We have the 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1. So distribute and calculate. You have a negative on the outside. 4x squared minus 2x plus 1. So our final answer is, we've got to combine these and distribute the negative 1 through. So negative 4x squared, that's a minus 4x, which becomes a positive 4x, and a minus 1. So that would be your final answer. Okay, and then C is f of f. So now you're putting f of x into itself. So 2 times x minus 1. So x is supposed to be f of x, which is 2x minus 1. Distribute and simplify. 4x minus 2 minus 1 gives me 4x minus 3. And D, g of g, you're putting g of x inside of the x position. So that's going to be negative x squared. And if we square that, that negative becomes a positive. And that becomes x to the 4th. And we have a negative on the outside. So a negative x to the 4th. All right, so 17, doing the same thing. So f of g of x, let's just play this out a little bit more. F of 2x cubed minus 5x. So f of x is 4x. So we're putting 2x cubed minus 5x into that position. So we get 8x cubed minus 20x. And g of f is g of f of x. So you're doing g of, let's see, f of x is 4x. So g of 4x, so you have 2 times whatever that is cubed minus 5 times whatever that is. Well, 4x goes in those positions. So you have 8, excuse me, not 8. 4 cubed is 64. Times 2 is 128, x cubed. And 5 times 4x is 20x. All right. Now we do, part C is f of g of negative 2. So we're putting, let's do g of negative 2 first. G of negative 2 would be 2 times negative 2 cubed minus 5 times negative 2. So g of negative 2 cubed is negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. And that's negative 6. So now we do f of negative 6. So that's 4 times negative 6, which is negative 24. And the last one's the A, B, C, and D. So g of f of 3. So let's put figure out what f of 3 is. And then we'll plug that into the g function. So 4 times 3, that's 12. So now you're doing g of 12. So 2 times 12 cubed minus 5 times 12. So 12 cubed is 1,728 times 2, which that's going to give you 3,456, and 5 times 12 is 60. So you subtract that, and you get 3,396. All right. All right, so part A, you do the function and the domain, and then part B, you do the same thing in the domain. All right, so f of g of x, let's find that first. F of g of x. Okay, so f of what? G of x is the square root of x plus 2. So f is x squared minus 3 times x. So we substitute x squared of x plus 2 in here. And you square a square root, that's just x plus 2, minus 3 times the square root of x plus 2. Okay, so nothing to simplify there, but what is the domain? That's the second part of this. So it's all real numbers except for, you have a square root. So what's under the square root has to be greater than or equal to 0. So subtract 2, x has to be greater than or equal to negative 2. That would be your domain. So negative 2, including 2, to positive infinity. Written as an inequality and as interval notation, which is, you should leave it in interval notation. All right, part B. G of f of x. So we want g of f of x is x squared minus 3x. So when we plug that into the g of x function, that's the square root of x plus 2. So that means we're putting x squared minus 3x in the x position. So we have x squared minus 3x plus 2. Okay, now that factors, but it doesn't matter because they're not the same thing. That's x minus 2, x minus 1. If they're the same thing, that'd be great, but they're not. So that's our final answer, and then what's the domain? That has to be greater than or equal to 0. So since it does factor, it makes it easy to find your zeros. So x has to be greater than or equal to 2 or greater than or equal to 1. But that's not really how it works. You have to figure out what you have here. You have 1 and you have 2 on a number line. So x minus 2 and x minus 1. Remember these charts? We're looking for what makes this positive, greater than 0. So if x is 0, we have a negative and another negative. Multiply those together, I get a positive. So the first part of our answer is negative infinity to 1, including 1. Now let's see if there's anything else. What about between 1 and 2? How about 1.5? 1.5 minus 2 is negative. 1.5 minus 1 is positive. Well, multiply those together, you get negative. And if it's greater than 2, and again, these are going to be closed dots because it's equal at 0. So let's put 3 in. 3 minus 2 is positive. 3 minus 1 is positive. You multiply those, you get positive. So we're going to union this with 2, including 2, to positive infinity. All right. Let's move on. Okay. We're doing the exact same thing with this one. So part A, f of g of x. Again, f of 5x minus 3 over 2. So the f function is 2 times x plus 3 all over 5. Well, x is 5x minus 3 over 2. So if we simplify this, the 2's will reduce out, and you're left with 5x minus 3 plus 3 all over 5, and negative 3 plus 3 is gone, so we have 5x over 5, which is just x. So that answer is just x. 5 over 5 is 1. All right, so what is our domain here? Well, we don't have any variables in our denominators, so this is all real numbers for number 29. All right, let's look at B. Now we're doing g of f of x. So g of 2x plus 3 over 5. All right, so now g of x is 5 times the x minus 3 over 2. So we plug in 2x plus 3 over 5. And the 5's reduce out. And now we have 2x plus 3 minus 3 all over 2. The plus 3 minus 3 are gone. And the 2's reduced to 1. And again, we just have x. So the domain is all real numbers. And that's it.